This case takes place in the USA in the year 2024. On the 4th of December 2024, a case unfolded which left many people divided and disturbed. The brazen killing of a CEO. Who is the assassin and who was the victim? And why did this happen? Meet Brian Thompson. Brian was born on the 10th of July 1974 in Hamilton County, Iowa. Growing up, he was described as an outstanding student. He was known as an athlete when he graduated in 1993. He attained the titles of Homecoming King, Class President, and Valedictorian. This academic excellence steered him into further education. He studied for a degree in accountancy in the University of Iowa. He ended his time in university in 1997, graduating with a bachelor's in business administration and majoring in accounting. Following his graduation, he worked as an accountant, and in 2004 he joined the UnitedHealth Group, a company that is known for being one of the largest companies in the Fortune 500. Brian was described as a high achiever and the kind of man who thrived under pressure. He quickly rose to a top position at UnitedHealth, a company with a slogan that feels eerily ironic now: there for what matters. According to the company, their mission is to help people live healthier lives and improve the healthcare system for everyone. They claim they do this by apparently leveraging their values, those being integrity, compassion, relationships, innovation, and performance. Brian Thompson's ascent at UnitedHealth was swift and strategic. After joining the company, he held several key financial roles, including Chief Financial Officer for various business units, and by 2021, Brian had risen to the CEO of UnitedHealth, overseeing a global workforce of 140,000 people, and he did all of this while creating a family and maintaining a marriage. He and his wife had 2 boys. Brian's wife said that he was incredibly loving, generous, and talented, who loved life to the fullest and touched so many lives. She also said that he was an incredible father to their 2 sons. By 2021, they had bought a large mansion in Maple Grove, Minnesota, near to where his offices were. He afforded this as he made $10.2 million annually and was one of the company's highest paid employees. Under his leadership, UnitedHealth provided insurance coverage to more than 50 million people in the USA, making it the largest insurance company in the US. Under Brian, the company made $74 billion in revenue. By the age of 47, Brian started facing several challenges. First was the breakdown in his marriage. Brian and his wife broke up, but there is little information about this, and it seems like the split was amicable. The second challenge Brian faced was death threats. His wife later said after his assassination that there had been some death threats. She said that she didn't know the details, but she knew he had increased his security. It is alleged that these threats were in response to a very public federal investigation that had Brian and his executive colleagues in its sights. In October of 2023, the Department of Justice initiated an antitrust investigation into UnitedHealth Group's business practices. Examples of antitrust business practices are where a fair market is compromised by buying up smaller competitors. This leads to a monopoly. This, with a predatory pricing stance, overall causes significant harm to consumers with no way to escape. In the months leading up to the investigation, Brian and other senior executives sold substantial amounts of company stock. Before the result of the investigation became public, Brian sold $15.1 million worth of shares. These stock sales raised concerns of insider trading, as they occurred before the company's stock price declined following the public disclosure of the DOJ investigation. Consequently, Brian and other executives faced allegations of fraud for failing to disclose the investigation to shareholders whilst selling their shares. UnitedHealth also faced frequent accusations of insurance claim denials. This context leads up to what happened on the 4th of December 2024. Now, despite the investigations, by all accounts, Brian had been performing well as CEO. He travelled to New York to attend a meeting where he was going to announce a record-breaking annual revenue of over $450 billion. It is said that thousands of Americans go bankrupt, lose their homes, or die every year due to medical insurer practices. The company's success was allegedly at the expense of innocent lives, and because of this, he never made it to the board meeting. It was Wednesday, the 4th of December 2024. Brian left his hotel at 6:45 a.m. and started walking to the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. The Hilton is close to the busy Times Square and Central Park. He was heading there for his 8 a.m. annual conference with the UnitedHealth board members and investors. Little did he know, he was the crescendo in what would be a carefully planned and premeditated assassination. The unidentified assassin with a grand plan was standing outside his hotel, lying in wait, hiding behind a car in the freezing cold. He had been there for 5 minutes when Brian headed out towards the Hilton. Brian was but meters from the Hilton door when the gunman approached. He was a slim build, approximately 6 feet tall. The man was clad in dark hooded clothing, disguised with a face mask, and carried a grey backpack. He maneuvered between a black SUV and entered the footpath no more than 15 feet behind Brian. At approximately 6:46 a.m., this mysterious man pulled out a weapon and fired 2 bullets into the rear of Brian. Brian collapsed in agony instantly and began to bleed out. However, it wasn't over yet. The gunman's weapon appeared to have jammed. He tried to unblock the weapon or repair it, which he was able to do swiftly, and with this, he fired the weapon again. Many shots were fired, but bullets ultimately hit him in the back and in his right calf. After the shots ceased, the cloaked gunman casually approached Brian as he lay on the floor. He gave him one prolonged look and then walked between 2 parked cars and proceeded to jog across 54th Street. He then slipped into an alley heading north toward 55th Street. He then turned east, emerging onto 6th Avenue. Meanwhile, Brian was attended to by several members of the public, and a police unit was dispatched to the scene in minutes. A harrowing video captured the moments when police officers performed CPR in a desperate attempt to keep Brian alive. A medical unit arrived at the scene and rushed Brian to the hospital. However, the father of 2 succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Meanwhile, the murderer fled the scene of the crime and was on the loose. As of the creation of this video, he has still not been apprehended, and a homicide investigation is underway. Due to the position and high profile Brian held, the case caused a media frenzy. And due to the brazen and rather unprofessional way the murder was committed, the New York City Police Commissioner, Jessica Titch, says there is a huge amount of evidence to be investigated. And so, this is what we know about the unidentified killer. As previously mentioned, the killer is a slender 6-foot-tall male. Investigators also uncovered evidence that he was staying in the High New York City hostel. This hostel was made up of thin, poorly lit corridors with very overcrowded shared rooms accommodating 4 to 12 people in the room. These rooms were the size of an average double hotel room. A variety of people stayed there, from travelling South American football teams to holiday goers on a budget like backpackers. So this man was comfortable in slumming it and wanted to move undetected. There were no metal detectors at the hostel, and security was incredibly basic, so he could easily smuggle his gun into his luggage. A young man was staying in the same hotel room as the prime suspect identified on CCTV. This man recognized him and said that he never took his face mask off and wouldn't be recognizable because of this. He would even keep the mask on whilst eating, only moving the mask away from his face to put food into his mouth, but never fully removing it. The police uncovered that he left the hostel at 5 a.m. At 6:15 a.m, he is seen leaving the 57th Street F train stop, only 3 blocks away from the scene of the crime. He was wearing the same clothing and walked into a Starbucks. He apparently ordered a coffee, a bottle of water, and 2 power bars. He drank both drinks, finishing them as he left. He was then seen dumping the empty drinks into the trash. Further footage at 6:29 a.m. on West 54th Street was found. It shows him talking on the phone as he walked in the direction of the Hilton Hotel. By the time officers reached the scene, he was gone. After the shooting, the assailant fled through an alley from 54th to 55th Street, then east to 6th Avenue. He made his escape on an electric bicycle, entering Central Park at 6:48 a.m. The police have stated that the perpetrator exited Central Park on its west side at 6:59 a.m. He was still on the bike and no longer wearing his backpack. The police launched a citywide search using drones and K9 units. However, the police believe that he took a taxi to the Port Authority bus facility at 178th Street and boarded a bus out of New York City, so he is likely not even in the area anymore. The investor conference was of course cancelled, with a company official telling the attendees that they were dealing with a very serious medical situation with one of their team members. A cell phone believed to belong to the killer was found in an alleyway, and in Central Park it is believed that the backpack was found. The day after the murder, the police released an image of the gunman unmasked. He was smiling and was seen flirting with the desk operator at the High New York City Hospital the day before. He had been so very careful to keep his identity a secret, but he took his chances flirting. At the crime scene, investigators found bullet casings with words written onto them. Under further inspection, they read, "Deny, defend, depose." The phrase hinted at a connection to the common insurance company legal battle tactics. This cynical tactic is called delay, deny, defend, and is used when a customer of an insurance product takes the insurance company to court. This tactic is the epitome of immoral behavior. Thus, the rather poetic nature of etching a similar strapline is believed to hint at a possible motive. The execution was calculated, public, and theatrical, carried out in the heart of Manhattan with bullets etched like a manifesto. It seems that this wasn't just a murder, it was a statement. It has shone a spotlight on the struggles of those failed by insurance companies. This act, as horrific as it was, carried the hallmarks of a vigilante seeking justice, or at least the appearance of it, and many people online support the killer. Or maybe the words were just a smokescreen meant to distract investigators from the real motive. And it is imperative to mention, the online consensus is that this killing is horrific and unjustifiable. At this stage, it's tempting to link the motive to health insurance practices, but nothing is certain. Some speculate that the killer was a trained mercenary. The use of a suppressed pistol and precise timing lend credence to this theory, but the details of the crime reveal something different: sloppy execution and amateur mistakes. Manhattan is one of the worst places to commit a murder if escape is the goal. There are cameras and eyewitnesses everywhere. The killer also left DNA and fingerprints on a coffee cup and a water bottle that he discarded. At some point, the gunman appeared on video without a mask exposing his face. He stayed at a hostel, sharing a room with strangers, which further increased his chances of being identified. Instead of firing at point-blank range, the gunman shot from a distance. During the killing, his weapon malfunctioned, forcing him to fiddle with the slide mid-attack. This shows that the killer at least practiced, ready for any possible outcome. The murderer is still on the run, and Brian's family is left in disarray. To say the murder has caused some divide is an understatement. Some people began quite literally falling in love with the assassin. Many began swooning over his smile in the CCTV, equating him to looking like a handsome Hollywood actor. Some people also seem to resonate with the idea of making health insurance CEOs nervous and fearful of losing their lives. In response, companies have begun moving their leadership from their websites, worried about copycat killers. There is also a fake tweet of Elon Musk saying that it is not based to kill a CEO. Although the tweet is fake, some believed it to be real. The tweet was met with some agreeing and some disagreeing. Many have likened this killer to a Robin Hood-like figure, bringing some kind of justice to the everyday person. Some believe that Brian got what he deserved, and hope that the killer's identity remains a mystery for life. In fact, when photographs of the killer were released, some people became upset, as the likelihood of his arrest dramatically increased. The police have stated that they know the man's name, but that they will not disclose the name. Some experts have speculated that this is a tactic used by the police, and that they really don't know who he is. Some people also believe that the killer may have had some financial backing, and that this is part of a larger plot. After all, the killing does seem to be incredibly symbolic. As I mentioned earlier, the backpack was recovered, and what they found inside further points to a motive. They found a bundle of fake Monopoly money. All of this seems to be incredibly deliberate. What gun was used in the attack remains somewhat unclear. However, it has been put forward that the killer used an old style of gun that was once used to put down animals. If this is true, then the killing is a clear message. Likely an anti-capitalist message, and a message to the health insurance industry. Due to the high-profile nature of the killing, and the media frenzy which has ensued, it is only a matter of time until the killer is likely found. And as of right now, the FBI have joined in on the search and have offered a substantial reward for any information that leads to the capture of the killer. The police have said that the trail has somewhat gone cold, and the investigators are rather surprised with the meticulous planning of the killing. They believe that they are in for a drawn-out investigation.